You know what? When I saw that originally, the first thing that popped in my mind, and still to this day, every time I see it, is an edible arrangements bouquet. This is News on a Tuesday, and today it is not your average News on a Tuesday. But April has stopped by to help break down some of this oddly awesome but odd news that with this new Lego Ideas project, April.
Hi there. Thanks for having me back.
So one project got chosen. One.
Yeah.
Out of, was it 30 something? 36?
Yeah.
No. That's like it's like a failure by now. I'm wondering if it's because they've chosen so many more recently and they're like, whoa, we need to back up or what? But I don't know. What before we reveal, obviously most of you already know what it is, but before we reveal what it is, what are your thoughts leading into that?
Well, I mean, I think there's fewer submissions for this than we've seen in the past, which, you know, we had some talks in the past about, you know, COVID being a big thing with, you know, there was a couple rounds ago, there was like 50 some submissions that made it to 10K. And now that seems to be slowing down. So in some ways it makes sense that like in those rounds that have way more submissions that, you know, those would have more things picked. But even out of 36, and there were some really, really good submissions, only picking one seems kind of crazy, but that may be just the trend that we see moving forward. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it started off kind of, you know, slow with the ideas stuff where they only chose one, maybe two if we were lucky, but throughout the quarters, we were only usually getting one. So seeing, you know, multiple big ones was absolutely insane. And then, like you said, you know, kind of like during the COVID time where people were stuck at home and they were just building, we just saw this explosion. And I remember last May during fan days where they were talking about how they expected that trend to climb a little bit because there were a lot of people clamoring saying, you know, we need to adjust the mark from 10K up to like whatever. And they were very cautious in saying, Hassan especially saying, let's just take the time and let this thing, because they thought the curve was going to plateau at some point and then start coming back down. And I think it's slowly getting to that point where everything is slowly coming back down. So they didn't rush to anything. So I don't know where it goes from here. It could be very well we only see one, I guess, from here on out. I mean, each quarter, however they do the submissions, it seems a little weird. It's going to be something to get used to. But what did you think about what got chosen?
Well, I mean, I guess we're gonna just reveal at this point.
Yes.
The Hocus Pocus house.
Oh my God.
Which really is such a great build. And I feel like even if you're not the biggest fan of Hocus Pocus, that house is, you could use that in a lot of different situations in your city or whatever, and it would look right. But you know, I think that it was a good pick out of everything. There are some that I'm very surprised did not get picked.
Yes. And we'll get into those. Absolutely. We have to get into those.
Yeah.
But I love the idea. It's like you and I had mentioned before, it is a Disney IP here. So you've already got that handled, and that's, which we can get into with some of the others that weren't chosen, but that they already have in hand. So it makes it a little bit easier than some of the others, but I'm looking forward to seeing, are we getting all these characters? The build I cannot wait to see, but this is going to be perfect for a Halloween display, a city display. Heck, you can even pseudo fix this into a Christmas display, holiday display. It has so many different opportunities to be displayed. Plus the exterior of the house almost kind of fits into some of the medieval stuff that we've gotten already. Castle aside, but I'm thinking the blacksmith. I mean, it kind of has a similar look on the outside. So if they keep with that after the final design comes through, heck, it's going to be perfect.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think this is definitely a very good versatile pick for things. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a really good decision, I think, on their part.
Mhm.
It's just sad to see some of the other things sort of fall away.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, the Ambernator, who Amber is a Belgian designer here, and she's the one that had that selected. So kudos to her if she's listening, or anybody that knows her is listening. That's a big deal. But so 36 projects. 36 is what the number is. We've seen all kinds of great stuff come through. I mean, some kind of modular style things that could be made into modular. I mean, I can't remember if the Hocus Pocus house is it completely closed in or is it open in the back?
I
don't
think
remember.
that it was closed in.
My name's Ron Burgundy. It doesn't matter. Either way, there's been a lot of great things that have happened, and they have set the bar high for, I mean, Starry Night is amazing. I can't wait to build that. The typewriter was awesome. You know, the Home Alone house, which is coming up on my docket here soon. But let's run through all of these projects here, all 36 of them that didn't get made. And in the first one here, we've got the Land Ahoy with the, I don't even know what this is supposed to be, like a tidal wave or something. I don't quite know how this works. I think it's a cool little project. It just doesn't seem like it's in the realm of what they have produced in the past.
This was actually my top
really
pick. Well, this is what I thought was going to get made because I felt like it was in the same vein as them doing the Van Gogh recently.
Okay.
So something that you could just put up as more like an artistic piece.
I'd be curious to know from the team why they didn't choose the rest of these and why they only chose the one, just out of curiosity, because I mean, you're a fan of it. I'm not so much of a fan of it, but I guess that's what happens in the realm of the Lego design group of people in there. The next one that it was up here was the Coral Reef. Just hello, all the plant pieces, please.
Right? No, this is a great, like, for a parts pack, and it looks amazing. But I think that, you know, I was saying this in my stream yesterday. I thought that this would just be a logistical nightmare for a lot of people to try to build because there's so many just little individual pieces everywhere.
Well, and then you also have to take into account, what's the rigidity like? Is it something that's going to frustrate the crap out of people because they just can't get it done? The Hyrule Castle, the 30th anniversary. I don't know what Hyrule is.
That's Legend of Zelda, so Nintendo IP.
Okay, they've got it, but this kind of thing, it makes me think, maybe you may not see a Hyrule Castle, but it makes me think that you're still going to have things trickle on down the line from the Nintendo IP. And you never know, we could end up having something like this. So unfortunately, you know, you see some of these things get, you know, entered in as hitting 10K, and then immediately they get kind of shot down because, you know, Lego's like, oh, sorry, we got this IP like 2 years ago, and I know you submitted this, but sorry. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know how long this was up on ideas, but I do know that there have been multiple Zelda sets on ideas over the course of, you know, really just since the Super Mario stuff and stuff came along is what's relevant here, because once they've picked up that Nintendo IP, they already know what they're going to do. And I don't see them taking things from ideas and trying to fit that in because they have a game plan with Nintendo already. So
they have laid out their 100-step plan to get everything that they need out of that IP.
Right.
What about the terrariums? I want to hear why you don't think it didn't make it, and then I'll give you my opinion.
I like the terrariums.
Yeah,
I like the way that they look. I think that, like another submission that we'll get to here soon, it got a little bit messed up by Lego deciding to do the succulents in their botanical line.
Yep. Okay.
And just like, you know, it's the same thing that we kind of see like with modulars, with whatever. Like, I think Lego just has that plan already for what they're going to do. And they might take some inspiration. There's been some controversy, actually, you know, over the last few years as to whether Lego takes inspiration from stuff from ideas for their own stuff. But I think that there's a logical road that you go down, especially with botanical stuff, and the couple that are in this ideas round are not out of the realm of that being their own idea.
Yes, I agree. There's definitely some people that are looking into, are you sure this wasn't like, hey, we saw this? No, again, anything that comes out on the shelf has already been in the works for a minimum of 12 to 18 months. So, what about the Last Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender? I saw a lot of people on social media upset about this.
There's been other Avatar stuff in the past on ideas through multiple rounds, and there's a lot more submissions that don't even hit 10K. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I feel like Lego would have a really good grasp on the fact that there is a large fan base of Avatar if they wanted to pick that up.
Yeah. So it's there if they want it.
But it also could be that Avatar doesn't want to work with them. Not anything against Lego, but right. Obviously not every IP wants to work with brands to make things. So
right. This one I was really not upset, but I was honestly shocked that it didn't get chosen, and I think it has to do with maybe the complexity of it. The Clockwork solar system.
I love this so much.
It's gorgeous.
They did an amazing job on this.
Yes, they did.
But yeah, I think that this might be that logistical thing again, where there's so much mechanics in this that all have to work together for it to work properly, that potentially for some people that might be difficult. And obviously I've seen it move and work, but long term, I don't know how all the gears and stuff, keep up.
Yeah.
And if that's something that works forever, basically, because Lego has a standard of quality that needs to be kept with these things. So I don't know. It's really good though.
It
and
is.
I'm kind of bummed that it wasn't going to get made.
Well, and my curiosity now is this going to be something where they release or they throw it up again on 10K, see if they can get 10K, which I think they would in a heartbeat. And then, are they going to submit it again and see if it does get another look or whatever? But if not, my goodness, I would love to be able to source the parts and build this thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What about the dojo?
Dojo was very cool for me, but I felt like it was too similar to things that are in both Monkey Kid and Ninjago at the moment. Your base plate's very similar to a Ninjago city. So, it's just kind of hard to break into that space, I think, with something that's so similar to things we've already seen.
And I think in general with the whole idea of Ninjago being kind of like an Asian inspired, thing with the ninja, and then you have the Monkey Kid, which is Asian inspired, based on stories. And then you have the Chinese New Year stuff as well that pops up every year. So I don't think there's a whole lot of room in there to be able to, add into Lego ideas with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We know the Hocus Pocus house, the Sanderson sisters cottage, was chosen. The Naruto, again, this is something like we just had mentioned about Monkey Kid and Ninjago. I think there's too much here. I know the Naruto fan base is really, really popular. But again, I think there's too many similarities there. And then you also have to think about the IP thing. I don't know who's in control of all that, but it might be another situation like you had mentioned, which I didn't even think about, that. Yeah, maybe they don't want to work with Lego.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there is definitely a large fan base for Naruto, but again, might be the same thing as Avatar. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. And we even see the stuff, the more Asian inspired stuff, moving into other themes too. Isn't there like a noodle shop or something that's coming out in City, I think, this wave? So I think it might be a bit of a hard sell, even though it's all amazing all the time.
I think with some things now, you're just really going to have to think outside the box. And if you're following stuff with IP, I mean, you really have to look at it and say, is this really going to give me an opportunity of having it made or not? Because you're going to run into that.
Yeah.
What about the motorized Johnny 5?
I love the Johnny 5. I'm not sure. Is this the one that was on Rebrickable for a long time? That's like the rebrick of the Lieber, or is this separate?
I don't know.
I think this is different actually, looking at it, because it's got like some blue in there and stuff. But there's one that you can do with the Lieber, which has been very tempting. But again, this could just be IP stuff. I'm not sure. And this is so parts intensive that it would be so expensive.
Well, and that's just something that has to be taken into account. It's like with the plants, you know, not only is it going to be kind of a pain in the butt to build, that's a lot of parts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and I feel like with ideas stuff, they haven't crossed that threshold into like the uber expensive set yet.
Not Titanic style yet.
Right. So having something that's that parts intensive might be a big ask.
The James Webb Space Telescope. This is obviously, you know, current news right now because of all the cool shots that just came back from that thing of way out there deep space. Not the prettiest design in my opinion. I never really looked at the satellite or anything like that, or the telescope. I don't know. I don't think it's aesthetically pleasing enough for Lego. Maybe another reiteration of it could potentially be like that. What are your thoughts?
I would agree. The model's really cool, and I have reasons why I'm partial to it, but it's definitely, the real telescope is very similar to this in that it's not super aesthetically pleasing. Like the hexagon part of it is very aesthetically pleasing, but the bottom part with the sun shields and stuff is not as not as much. So yeah, so it's difficult because it is pretty accurate, but as far as just building this as a set and having it on display, I think it hits a little bit different than if you're setting it next to like a Hubble.
Yeah, I agree. What about the Lego emergency box? I think personally, I think it's too small. It doesn't fit with what they're looking for. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that this would be an absolutely incredible GWP.
Yes. That's why I still have hope for it.
Yeah.
Just not as a regular idea set.
This needs to be submitted into one of the GWP contests, and I would almost guarantee it would win and get produced. I think it's a really cool idea. It's funny. It goes along, I can guarantee you that there would be all the AFOLs would want to have one of these sitting on their desk,
Oh my goodness, of course.
In this situation with ideas, I think it's hard to put that next to even something like what got put through, right? This is tiny in comparison to the Hocus Pocus house, which is, very much parts intensive and, a very beautiful model. So, I do think that this has a shot elsewhere in the future, but wasn't meant to be this time.
Sure. No. GWP land is where it lies for me.
Yeah.
The Lego Rubik's Cube, it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know how regular Rubik's Cube work. My brain doesn't work like that. But it's a cool model. I'd love to see it. I don't want to make it work. I'm good just having it sit there and look pretty.
Yeah. I actually have some knowledge of the inner workings of a Rubik's Cube and how to assemble one. The way that they have done this is pretty good, and I've seen a lot of different iterations of Rubik's Cubes made over the years. But I think at the end of the day, there's some level of it being unstable no matter how you build it.
Sure.
Just because of the nature of how it's supposed to work. So it's definitely really cool. I would question it not blowing up into a million pieces if you were any level of, I don't know, not necessarily rough, but, just using it normally.
Yeah, like you said, I don't really see it fitting their quality assurance standards for their products. Yeah. The Brooklyn Nine-Nine 99th Precinct, I didn't foresee this being made. We've had Seinfeld, we've had Friends, we've had the Queer Eye set, we've had The Office got chosen with the last round. I just don't foresee a whole lot of these really continuing to happen. Again, this could also come down to, contractual negotiations with the parent company, really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. When I saw this, I thought it was too close to The Office, considering that's already, coming down the line sometime soon. I can sort of see with the other sets that they've done in the past when it's like apartments or show sets that are based on like houses, there's sort of multiple uses for that work more in my brain than just like the same kind of, multi-cubicle office or whatever.
Exactly.
So, and the show I've watched the show, it's funny, but I don't think it has the same kind of pull as something like The Office did.
The Steampunk Explorers. My God, this was so cool.
It's gorgeous.
I'm
so in love.
Beautiful. The golden octopus, the gold everywhere. Oh my God, I love this thing. I had a very strong feeling it was not going to get chosen. Just again, going on history. But man, how cool would it have been to add this to your city?
I really wish that Lego would explore more steampunk stuff. I've seen some really, really cool stuff between idea submissions and rebrickable things and just straight up mocks that people have done. That would be a really interesting avenue for them to go down. And I feel like their parts library is large enough now that they could put out some extraordinary sets.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That I'm holding out hope that there's a possibility in the future, but who knows, honestly. The Moomin House. I don't know anything about this. All I know is it's red, it's white, and it's blue.
Is very accurate. This is true.
It looks like a rocket ship on a base plate, a giant house rocket ship. Now I know it's detailed on the inside and stuff. I need more pop.
Fairly certain that this was based upon a TV show, an Asian TV show, and that's like the main house that the characters live in. But I feel like it's not anything I had ever seen, and it wasn't anything that was relevant to me. So it just kind of looks like, I don't know.
Unfortunately, and I don't
obviously
have
it has fans.
It has
10,000 people, but
somebody created 10,000 accounts.
Oh,
I'm
Lord,
kidding,
the conspiracy.
I'm kidding. The Castle Outpost. That was always going to be a big fat no. When we heard inklings last year that Lego was going to do the castle, which is unveiled at LegoCon, and you and I are both I've built mine, but you're in the process of building yours. Anything like castle now, I think, is dead in the water, just because, yes, it's 90 years of play, but I think you're going to see some things from the past start trickling back to the current.
Yeah.
Especially with the castle theme.
Once they open up that floodgate, it's going to be one of two things, right? It's either going to be, this is what you get. You've gotten Pirates of Barracuda Bay. Yep. You're getting your classic space. You're getting your classic castle. We're done. Or I hope they realize that, like, they have such a huge opportunity for sales if they just explore all of those things the tiniest bit. And I mean, they don't need the ideas range for coming up with castle ideas or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. No. Downtown Records. This was a cool build. This was something I don't really know. It's smaller than the Brick Bank. The modular from, I think, 2014. It's smaller than that. I've got that one. It's smaller than that, I think, but it kind of gives me the same feel to a certain degree. I like it. It would have been a nice little, add into a city or just a standalone thing. But again, you kind of get into that modular space, and I don't know where their head's at with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's ever going to be a point where a modular gets picked from ideas, just because we're only getting one a year, and I think it would have been way too easy for them to make a 10-year plan of modulars, and they don't need ideas. Yeah.
They've got it well placed.
But it is interesting. Sorry.
No,
it is interesting though that, they don't put that as a rule. Like, obviously they're still cool with those being submitted into the program, but I don't know.
Sorry, modular folks. We love them.
Yeah.
But sorry, you're going to get spit on every time.
Yeah.
The Orchid, man, if this wasn't a smack in the face for the person that created this and got the votes, I can only imagine when it was announced the Orchid that came out, they were probably like, son of...
Yeah, exactly.
I quit. It looks
this
nice.
Is cool.
It does.
Yeah.
I like the way it's done. I don't know. It looks a little flimsy. With some of the stems, I don't quite know how they were done, but sorry. Anybody doing flowers right now, I think you're dead in the water moving forward.
I do like the concept though that they did of they have a 2x2 brick as the vase.
Yeah.
I like that concept. Now in the actual Orchid, the vase in that is just extraordinary. So I can't really compare, but just as an idea, like I really like that.
I like how it's detailed. I really like how that's done. The Soyuz rocket space stuff. It's not bad. I don't know what the Soyuz rocket is. I've never seen it. Not the biggest fan of this. I think it looks a little incomplete, but I think honestly that's why it wasn't chosen.
Well, between that and I think that Lego has taken a pretty, big stance on not participating in Russian activities right now with the climate. So I think picking something that would be a Russian rocket might be controversial, and I think they want to avoid that like the plague.
There is that too. That's a problem. The Lego Ghibli, obviously some kind of cartoon or
yes, anime.
Character? Anime. Okay.
Yeah. Again, very popular, big fan base, but we're still running into, I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder because Lego's been doing this big push to get more into Asia in the last couple of years. I wonder if part of that is to be able to pick up things with these bigger IPs that they haven't participated in before. Because I mean, all the things listed so far have had huge fan bases that would be very profitable for Lego, I think, if they could hit into it.
We just got to tap into it somehow.
Yep.
The people can only hope. The Baba Yaga. It's a cool name. I don't know what it is. Obviously something fictional.
Yeah, it's like a folklore thing. I'm not sure. There was a lot of controversy around this, so
too much controversy.
There was some controversy about how fast this got to 10K and whether or not there were some bot accounts or something made to get there. I think it's a cool
it's crazy
model.
Looking.
I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, you didn't win. Try again later. The meeting point. What are your thoughts on this one?
I like these things individually.
Yes.
I think that it's too busy when it's together. I like the concept of the roller coaster track as the facade and using the big window panels and stuff throughout, but it doesn't feel cohesive to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very all over the place color wise, and yeah, I don't know.
I'm kind of in that same realm. This almost feels like something out of Monkey Kid, but it's not quite Monkey Kid enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like the colors are there, the weird colors are there, but the weird texturing is not there.
Mm-hmm.
The Pirate Tavern. Okay, straight out of the box, this has three things on my mind. This reminds me of Pirates of Barracuda Bay, mixed with Monster Fighter House, mixed with the Haunted House, as far as the colors go that we got 2 years ago. It's like a hodgepodge of everything of those. Yeah. You get a little bit of pirate, you get this crazy look, it's cool, but I just don't think we're going to see pirate come down the line from ideas.
I don't think so either. And I've noticed recently, maybe more so, that a lot of these sets that have this weird stonework texturing and things that are very sort of odd build techniques have not been getting picked, even though it's incredible. I love it. It looks great, but I feel like there's a skill level there that may not be feasible for for everyone, for the mass audience that they want to go for, because a lot of that stuff is not as sturdy sometimes.
Right.
As
It becomes frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. I've only made it to bag 3. I quit.
Yeah. But it looks great. I love it.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And I think it's Nauticon Jin, a Ninjago reference up there, hanging up on the tower up there. The Riverside Scholars, unique colors, cool build. It kind of feels Asian inspired as well. Thoughts?
Even saying that though, I could see this leaning towards medieval stuff too in the right scenario.
You could.
The rounded windows, maybe not as much, but you swap those out for not round, and then I would totally put this, in and around medieval stuff. I like this a lot. It was in my top 5.
I'm surprised. No, actually I'm not. This was a really cool project.
Yeah.
That's okay. There's still hope. It got to 10K. It could get back to 10K.
This is very true.
Well, this Union Pacific big boy. Obviously, anything train is going to pick up its people because the Lego train people are madmen and mad women. And in a good way, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And any train that comes out is going to get chosen almost immediately, I think, or reach 10K almost immediately. But Lego is releasing trains every few years. I think this is the longest it's been since we've gotten a new train in between releases, but I just don't foresee them doing this. Those trains are great. You see them at shows all the time. You and I both saw all the trains and stuff at Brickworld, and they looked amazing. But there's something to be said for the level of difficulty with some of these things where I think they kind of shy away from. And not only that, but you need the Union Pacific contract there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes me wonder because Lego had made a statement not super long ago, maybe within the last year, that they were like going to keep pushing out trains. And obviously we had like the crocodile locomotive, and then we haven't really seen anything else that was, I don't know, what I would call a serious level train. We've got a couple things in like the city realm this wave that are really cool trains, but not like a traditional large scale, like very detailed like this is. And I feel like that's more what the train people really want.
Absolutely. It's sad to see. I know my nephew, my youngest of my nephews, would absolutely go nuts for that thing. The Magic Bookends. Is this something Harry Potter?
It's not.
Okay.
But oh my God, I'm so in love with it.
Okay.
Well, because I've been a sucker since the beginning for when Lego puts together books. There are small things about these that I could nitpick at, but overall, I really just like the book builds. Any of them, even just the Harry Potter ones that they put out recently. But I mean, you look back at like the Dickens book, stuff like that. I just like them. I want more book.
More book.
And the tree with all the 1x1 heart tiles.
God, I know.
It was such a cool idea.
You know what? When I saw that originally, the first thing that popped in my mind, and still to this day, every time I see it, is an edible arrangements bouquet. Like I see
oh my God.
strawberries and other fruit, and I'm just like, I'm so hungry now. Every time I see it. The Asterix the Gaul.
I think we had an Asterix build last round too that was like busts or something, didn't we?
I don't remember.
Pretty sure.
I like the Viking stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, they just did the Creator 3-in-1 ship Viking stuff. So if you can find a way to squeeze a goat in it instead of a couple cows, you might have some luck. I'm just saying.
This is true. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is interesting. And obviously there's a fan base for it. I have kind of an issue with the fact that the building there, we've just had an A-frame building get picked recently to get made, and it feels more just like a facade of the building. It's like the very front of it and there's a chimney. I feel like that could have been fleshed out a little bit more potentially.
Well, and that's one of those things, you go back and you
tweak
and adjust and bring it back next time. Stargate. I've had conversations with Captain Mutant before, who created this. He's created some other stuff before. Big space guy. I just see an IP issue here.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I don't know who owns the rights to Stargate any longer. I just think that because it's been so long that I just don't know that they're interested in it, honestly.
Well, and no offense to the Stargate fans. I totally love you for your fandom, but I feel like there would be more of a chance of Lego picking up the Star Trek IP because that's slightly more relevant than doing something Stargate.
Yeah, the Stargate community is going to be upset now.
I know. I'm sorry.
The McDonald's franchise, the old school 1955 to 1969. I see all kinds of issues with this. Not the build, just legal issues.
Well, I talked about this the other day, and Lego has worked with McDonald's in the past.
You're right. They have. It's been a long time, though.
Oh, yeah. It's not been since I was a child, and they used to do toys and Happy Meals and stuff like that. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's such a cultural issue almost with them realigning with McDonald's just because it's not a healthy choice no matter what you do. Like
Lego has really gone on to be a green company as much as they can, and McDonald's doesn't have a history of being green.
Yeah.
So there is that to think about as well. The Three Investigators, the Headquarters. I know this was a book series. I had NLR Creations, I think is who it was, a long time ago. And they had done something like this. This is by Volcon, the person that created this. I don't know anything about the books. I've never read them. I don't know anything about them. Unfortunately, those that do understand this setup here, they are in the very, 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 very tiny minority, I think. Because,
go ahead, sorry.
No, you're all right. I just see a junkyard and Dom's Charger. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of the source material or anything, but this hits my ultimate Lego pet peeve, which is items that are not attached to the build.
Yeah.
That are just loose, floating around, able to fall on the floor. And it's a lot of things on this.
I know. I want to clean it up so bad. The NASA SR-71 Blackbird. Here's another case where I think anybody's doing anything official NASA, I think you're kind of lost and done and over with, because not you're lost, but you've lost just due to sheer fact that they've done so many NASA things. And I think they're going to continue on with that. We got the Discovery more recently with as far as Lego NASA goes. So I really don't foresee anything NASA related ever happening on Ideas.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We have had stuff in the past that has been NASA related through Ideas, but at this point, when they've strengthened their relationship with NASA so much,
yes,
I think that's a little bit of a different game now.
Well, it's not. So this is my opinion. But when I think of NASA, I think of guys with glasses and pocket protectors and, suspenders and combed over hair and stuff like that. But that's NASA of like the 60s. But that's what I remember. All the movies, pop culture movies, are of Apollo 11 and all this stuff that can happen. Now NASA is kind of taken on this hipster cool vibe to a certain degree, especially with all the really crazy things that they're getting back from like Mars and way out in who knows wherever the Webb telescope is right now. But I think it's kind of changed a little bit. So for me, I'm like, yeah, NASA's kind of cool now. I don't really get it with the SR-71 Blackbird, as crazy as an aircraft as that is. But I think some of the NASA stuff, there's definitely a good horizon there with Lego. And like you said, the strengthening recently of the relationship, it's only going to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I went on a tangent there and I don't really know where I was coming from, but it just happened.
It's good. I was here for it.
The Gremlins. I love this. I would love to see this. Absolutely, I would love to see this. Thoughts on this one?
My main issue with this, because I love this and I would buy this in an absolute heartbeat. My only issue is that they're using the Dimensions figures, which are great figures, or some of my favorites actually. But in the grand scheme of the scale of this build and against the other minifigures, those should be about the size of the Star Wars Grogu figure,
yes,
to be accurate. So it looks very off in that way, but just even in like the main image that they use for their promotional, there's so much humor, and I would absolutely buy this.
You know what? The scale aside, I'd be all over it. It's awesome. I love the movies, but my God, this is just perfect. This would be perfect.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office, the Wild West. This feels like something that made it through. Help me out on Bricklink, the designer program, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like something like that.
They did the Brick West Studios thing with like all the different facades and stuff. But we saw also the sheriff's office or whatever that was in the first round of Bricklink program. So, you know, maybe this has a shot to come back through that if they decide to do it again. I'm not sure, but I think it's a really well done build. It looks good.
Yeah. This
I
kind
would
of gives me almost like Fort Legarado vibes. Obviously a little bit better, but it just, I don't know. It fits that time. It just, I like it. Yeah.
I'm crazy over the skull build on the corner of the building. The cow skull. That's just great.
Everybody loves a cow skull, especially when you're out in the West. It's a Wonderful Life. I think it's a popular holiday movie for a lot of people. I'm not a big fan of the movie. The build looks okay. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a nice sort of generic looking building to me for anybody who's not super invested in the movie. And it looked like their big sort of plug for that was their 75th anniversary, you know, sure. But by the time this actually makes it into production and on a shelf, it will not be the 75th anniversary anymore. So that might have missed the boat a little bit if you were sort of pushing towards that.
It's been 84 years. Yeah, I just don't really see something like this getting made. I don't know. I think part of it is a lot of people that may be big fans of this movie this is going to sound crude, but are starting to die off, you know, because it is such an old movie. And I don't know. Let's move on to the last one. The Garden and the Greenhouse. This is up my alley because greenhouses, gardens, anything to put my hands in the dirt, I'm game for. This again, I think there's just too many little itsy bitsy tiny builds that might not be sturdy enough, but I like it. And I love all the clear glass that we get here. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. And we just there was a greenhouse in, what was it? I think it was Friends recently that sort of had the same kind of techniques used for the greenhouse. But yeah, I mean, it runs into the same issue as the coral reef and some of the other things that we've looked at before, of just too many small parts, small builds, you know, and very much repetitive, which obviously that's intended if you're going to have a garden or whatever, but I think that's just it's too large too.
It is too large.
Potentially.
Yeah. It is just, if you just had maybe a part of a greenhouse or something like that, because then I don't know how this comes apart or anything like that, but you got to think about accessibility. I mean, some people are going to be able to want to take that off and be able to, you know, display it or whatever. I'm just thinking, you know, long term. Unfortunately, I don't think this had much of a chance, even though it made 10K. I don't think it had a shot to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Hocus Pocus house, the Sanderson sisters. I can't wait for that. We're probably gonna have to wait until like 2024 to probably have it in our hands. But man, I can't wait. So
yeah.
Is there anything else? Like, we went through all 36. One of them got chosen. Is there anything else that you were really, truly, honestly surprised did not get chosen?
I think the first one, the wave one, I was the most surprised about. The rest of them I could understand for different reasons.
Yeah, and I never stopped to think about the art appeal to the first one, to the wave sculpture, picture, whatever you want to call it. I never gave it a thought about the art appeal of setting it up or setting it out and that kind of thing, because that's kind of what the ship in a bottle was. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of the same thing, you know. It's not for everybody, and you just kind of sit it out. It's not a building or anything like that. It's just different. So, yeah, especially with the Van Gogh happening, I don't know. So
yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap up the news. I'm sure there's many other things that are going to be coming down the pipeline, but April, thank you for coming on and spending this long amount of time kind of going through. But there's a lot on here that, I mean, 37's a lot of builds. You know, the next round is 39, and got to weed through them. And I guess we'll see what ultimately happens. But I'm really happy the Sanderson sisters' house is done, and I don't know. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've got some really cool things coming. I'm happy about this and excited for what's potentially going to get picked next round.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are not familiar, April is if you're new here, April is a Twitch streamer, Lego brick building community Twitch streamer. And you can find April all over social media at April, is it _B?
Just April B.
Okay. So everybody uses
April B RLFM.
Okay. April B RLFM.
Yep.
Everybody uses underscore from time to time, and I'm just like, is it is yours underscore? Is yours? But yeah, check her out and go hang out in her chat community and all the good things. So April, thanks for coming on and spilling your guts with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want edible arrangements right now. So hungry.